you. Because what I found was that I would work with people or businesses, and they would take it on, and we'd finish the session. And they're like, that's awesome. Like, that's what we need. I know that can really help. And then the next week or fortnight when I checked in, they'd done nothing. And some of the feedback was, it's like, dude, we love what you're doing, but you walk out that door, the phone rings, we get smashed with everything for like up until our next session. And then an hour before the session, we're like, oh shit, hang on, what did we have to do? And obviously that's not going to work for anyone and isn't going to help them get the most out of this course. So that's why I like to give you the success cycle overview so that you know where this fits in, because now we're talking systems. So what I want to do is to give you this system so that what you can do is run your everyday whirlwind of the business that you're running and implement what we're going through here. Now, we're going to go into, you focus on the wildly important goals. Now you can have no more than 2 wildly important goals. So you may want to have implementation of some of this coursework and something else that you have going on in the everyday whirlwind. Although what I do recommend is to do the everyday whirlwind and have this, what you're working towards here outside that, which is helping you to improve on that. So when we look at that other model, this is your improve or your innovate, depending on what wildly important goal you choose, that will help everything else get better. So I want to give you the system so that you can get more out of everything else we're doing. How does that sound? Just give me a thumbs up or one hand up if you have a question. Or shuckers if you're cool. It's only 3 cool cats on this call. All right. So there's 4 disciplines of execution. Now, they sound simple, but they're not simple. I've forgotten the word, but they're not easy, right? So any type of system like this that you need to implement can't be a big fancy system. Like I got into Tony Robbins' RPM system years back, and whilst no doubt it's awesome because it's Tony Robbins, like there's a lot to it, and it just ended up too much. And then you had this binder that was like massive and everything, you could put everything in this binder, but then do you really want to carry everything around with you? And for me, I like to I'm all about simplifying stuff. I think of my man here that talks about something like, it's not the daily increase it's not the daily addition of, especially in the times we live in now, it's not the daily addition of what we're doing. It's the deletion. It's refining, like Adam's doing, maybe cutting off or not taking on some customers because you're deleting, you're refining what you do. So what you do, you do a lot better. Who's up with do? All right, cool. So this is hands down the best system I've come across. It's taught to me by my mentor who's doing amazing things. And it comes from, an organization that has pretty phenomenal results. So 4 disciplines. First of all, focus on the wildly important. Not the pretty important, the wildly important. Now, in the book, they talk about, as I would say we can all relate to, an air traffic controller. Now, at any point in time, they have planes on the ground, planes in the air, planes coming, planes going, all important. Like if any of us was on one of those planes, we're going to argue this plane is pretty damn important, right? But you need to focus on what's the wildly important. So at any point in time, an air traffic controller is aware of all those other things, but they are focusing on the plane that is landing at that time. Because obviously if they don't, that's the worst thing that can happen. But also land that plane and get that out of the way helps all the other planes to do what they need to do. So 1 or 2 WIGs, as we call them, wildly important goals. So the way you would think about this, or a good question to ask yourself or in your organization. So this is you by yourself, just working by yourself, or within your organization. This is something that you would do with your team. And it's not top down and it's not bottom up. It's both. So as a leader of an organization, you're more aware of what the ultimate vision is, but you need to make sure that the team are involved in it and they're coming up with wigs and the other disciplines, helping in the other disciplines as well. Because when they're involved, they're engaged. We've probably all, well, I know I have worked in organizations. My last job, we would do the annual performance review, and they go, what are your goals? I go, well, these are my goals. This is what I really want to do, which they were a fair chunk of. And my boss would be like, oh, no, it's not really what they want to hear. We probably need to change it this way. And like my goals were what motivated me. There was a lot more emotion involved. And like I knew the metrics, but they're like, nah, they just want the metrics and would screw with my goals. And as I said to him, I said, all right, well, write whatever you want. Because it was all, you'd put it in the online platform and you'd put it in and it'd send off. And as I said to him, I said, man, I know about this stuff. This is ridiculous. Like, you're killing my drive. And like, man, I drew that department 700% in 18 months. Like, I was kicking goals, you know what I mean? And my sales manager at the time, or the national manager, was very happy with what I was doing and was completely on board with what I was saying, but that was the system. So if someone's telling you your goals or telling you what you need to do because you need to make the organization better, there's no engagement, there's no passion in that. Whereas if the organization is aligned, they're aligned with what you want and you're aligned with what they want, then, which is the sales process, it's the influence process. When I'm aware of what my vision is, I'm aware of what your vision is, or I have some scope. If you get a sense that I'm here to help you out with your vision and Joe Blow just wants to sell you something, you'll go with me every day of the week. So wildly important goals, top down, bottom up approach. And it is the goal that generally helps, affects, improves everything else. Now, what I want to do is, damn, time flies. I'm going to quickly go through the 4 disciplines, and then I want this to be interactive, right? So start thinking about what you're going to write, because I'm going to come to you guys, and we're going to have to be pretty streamlined as well with our answers. And I, being the worst of all, will try to be streamlined with my delivery. Quite a challenge for me. And throw your hand up if you've got a question, if you need to jump in, because I don't want to move on if you need something. Focus on the wildly important. Act on lead measures. Is anyone familiar with this?
Oh, I watched the video.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nice one. Actually, yeah, just heard of it not long ago. Act on lead measures. What they found after implementing this so much, the problem that people have with goal setting was pervasive, so much so that they say like the last one to discover the water is the fish. You know, they're not aware of it because it's everywhere. Problem with a lot of goal setting is that people focus on lag measures, not lead measures. Quickest way I can explain these: lag measures are milestones, lead measures are actions you need to implement to get the lag measure. So the problem is people are focusing on lag measure. So I want to earn 50K a month. Well, okay, we're going to focus on 50K a month. Well, you can't. You can't focus on that because it's in the past. You won't ever know that you've made 50K. You know you're on track, but you don't know, say it's 100K a year. That's easier. You know, you've got to make, what do you need to make a month? 100K a year, 120K a year, you need to make 10K a month, right? So you know at each month that if you're making 10K or more, you're on track, but you don't know that till the end of the month. So where everyone goes wrong is what you need to focus on is the lead measures. What do you need to do to get that 10 or 120K in? So what are the calls you need to make? What are the appointments you need to make? What are the proposals you need to send out? What marketing videos do you need to send out? Focus on the lead measures, the actions, and then like we measure the lag measures, we don't lose them, but you cannot focus on that because it's in the past, that being the past. this the future, right? So what I need to do is focus on what do I need to do now, which will help me to get to that milestone. Cool? Oh, almost used the wrong color. Yeah, you can see that well. You laughing at me too? I'm watching you. Act on lead measures. Create a compelling scoreboard. Now. So can you imagine watching a game, football, soccer, whatever, and not knowing the score? If you don't know the score, and imagine you're not into it, because there's some sports that I could watch that I don't need the score, because you're into the game and the strategy and the athleticism of it or whatever. Imagine you're not that into the game. You don't know the score. What's your level of engagement in that game? High or low? Or zero, yeah. If you don't know what's going on, and I think in the book they say, like, think of a team of teenagers playing a game and not scoring. Then they start scoring. Like, look at the difference. The amount of engagement and performance rises, the enjoyment rises, they know where they're at. This is massive. We don't really have this in a lot of places. So now, a lot of organizations do, right? But the scoreboard, it's not a coach's scoreboard, it's a player's scoreboard. Now, the difference being that coaches' scoreboards has everything on it. All the metrics, all that they need to know, the strategy, where they're at with the strategy, the whole thing. The player's scoreboard is team A, team B, 10 points, 12 points, time. That's it. So they're playing, they can glance and see and come back. That's what it needs to be. It needs to be a scoreboard that you can glance at. So someone who doesn't know your organization walks into your office and can glance and see how well you're doing. So if I walked into your business and glanced at that spreadsheet, keep in mind I'm pretty dumb and I'm terrible with Excel. I can't even say it, right? And I glanced at your spreadsheet, would I know how well you're doing? And more so than it just has a whole lot of black or a whole lot of red, right? So what you want is, like, are they doing well or not? You would assume, depending on what this is, but most of the time, that's well. Like your line graphs, your bar graphs, don't really know if that's good or not, right? But if you're trying to get more piece of the pie, you want market share, and I don't know, fucking work with the pie chart, right? But what it needs to be is obvious that people can tell what's going on straight away. The best thing to do here, if you have a team, is get them to do this. So ABRADs, when I last worked with ABRADs, I think we decided these were going to be coffee cups, because the better they did, the more coffee they could drink. They might be footballs. They might be like, I worked with a company that their motto was the Ducks. So they had, I'm not even going to try and draw a duck, but they had this, okay, I will, this little duck that was moving up. So the more you can play with it, the more colors, and you can look up 4DX scoreboards on Google, right? And there's corporations just going nuts with these. But the thing is, like, it's got to be fun, but most of all, at a glance, you've got to be able to see that how well someone's doing. Because the more we score, the more people get engaged. How are we going? Any questions? All good in the hood? 4. Josh, what's 4? Testing you now.
Number 4. Yeah, I was good with the first 3.
Good answer. So we create a cadence of accountability. So cadence, think of a horse. Oh, hang on. Darren's in. Cadence, think of a horse. Du-dum, 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 du-dum. You know, like a rhythm, like a tempo. Cadence of accountability. What they generally recommend is at least each week. So you check in and there's a specific structure for checking in. So how on the ball are you when you know, say with this program, if you jump on this call and you're expected to have certain things done, are you more likely to do those things because you know we're going to check in like this in a group, especially if you committed to them? So if I finished this call and said, right, guys, what's it? How are you, Darren? What's the 3 deliverables that you're gonna give to us next week? You tell me, then we check in as a group next week. I'm sure you'll all agree you are like 10, 100 times more likely to do it. If you tell me. So it's not about, and as a leader, this is easier to do. And yes, you can guide them because, you know, if you do get someone that says, I'm going to deliver next to nothing times 3, they need some coaching. Yeah, if you've got the team deciding what they deliver, committing to it, and then what happens in this meeting, this weekly meeting, is that monthly ends up being a little bit too long, but it doesn't have to be a long meeting in itself, especially when you just check in and it's a matter of, okay, what did you commit to? How well did you do with it? And then who else can clear the path? So he might be sitting in this meeting and Teals is like, oh, well, you know, I had this issue. And Joss is like, oh, well, actually, in our business, we've had that. This is what we do. Or, you know, I've been there before. Or different industries, you know, and that's the beauty of having lots of different industries here is you can say, look, I don't know if this will work in your industry. And maybe in Teals, in Brand, it's never considered to do it that way. It's never been done that way. But in IT, they do it every day, you know, so you can help each other and clear the way. And then you're getting gems from other industries that you may not have thought of. But create weekly meetings where people check in, commit to the commitments they made, and then we help each other clear the path. And then you make the next week's